Hello, Frog fans. Welcome back to Post Game Beers. We are a short 11 days away from baseball, and it's feeling more real every day. I'm your host, Kyle Malloy, welcomed by my co-host, Jacob Sailors, along with our producer, Crazy Ray Cartwright. Tonight, we bring you a very, very special guest, 11.7 contributor. And I'm gonna give him the opportunity to say flops on the ground because, folks, he doesn't wear boots, but also host of the Pencil Talk podcast, star of Club Bromaha. We will get into that a little bit later. It's Jack DeLongchamps. It's officially busy season, folks, and so Jack, thanks for joining us tonight. I know you're busy. We're busy. We appreciate you being on tonight.
Well, 11 days away felt fitting, and I know that we crammed it in here. But, guys, I'm a big fan. For all the followers and listeners and Frog Nation, I appreciate you guys having me on. It is the best time of the year. Two best words in the English language, opening day, are upon us, and I'm fired up, gentlemen.
Dude, just kind of
we appreciate the sentiment. We appreciate the sentiment, and we won't tell our listeners how much we paid you to say that.
Dude, it's crazy. We're 11 days away. We're recording at 7:00.
I thought that there was something in the air. There's some magic cooking.
The cosmic energy right now is through the roof.
Hey, Jack, I want to address the kind of hot story of the day of the weekend and tie it to baseball. What would be a college baseball equivalent of the Luka trade?
Nope. No equivalent.
Oh, my goodness.
No equivalent. I don't know.
You can do. Yes, there's no equivalent, but the best you could come up with.
All right. From a trade. Okay, so it would be when Tommy White hits the transfer portal from NC State to LSU. It'd be like after 1 year at LSU, setting the world on fire and going, you know what? Knoxville seems pretty nice this time of year. That's what it feels like. From a dramatic standpoint, though, because I know we've got a lot of Dallas listeners, so they're probably not in love with my hoodie that I have on right now. I think from a dramatic standpoint, it's pretty on brand with what we saw happen between A&M and UT last year, though, right?
Okay.
Schloss leaving in the middle of the night, right? I mean, it kind of – I feel probably as butthurt A&M Nation and probably the Mavericks fan base do. I think that's pretty on brand, though.
That's not a bad one. That's not a bad one.
It's a good call out with Schloss. You know, for TCU fans, we've talked about this multiple times, but he had a great career here. You know, so moving on to A&M, not super surprising. Jumping to Texas, we loved it. We loved the shit out of that.
Okay, MK, it would have been like Luka, like the Luka thing. It would have been after 4 straight trips to Omaha, then Schloss leaves. Like when we're peaked, right?
Yeah.
That's tough.
Are you you're a Houston fan? Is that where your hoodie comes from, or?
So here's the deal. I do have a story. So my whole family is from Houston, Texas. I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina. So I have been gifted, blessed, and cursed with rooting for all Houston sports teams. And I thought it would be fitting to not only rock this hoodie, because 2 years ago when I started this whole little Pencil Talk shindig, what a lot of people don't know is when I took my handy-dandy pencil and I was rocking my flops and I'm walking around Charles Schwab Field in Omaha and everyone is looking at me like I'm absolutely asinine. There's just – I don't really get starstruck like that. Like I just am obsessed with storytelling and I'm obsessed with the origin story and how these individuals got to the places that they got to. So never really starstruck except for 2 people. Now, I broadcast a lot of college baseball in the Charleston area and did some stuff in Raleigh last year for college baseball. There was one guy, Chris Burke, who broadcasts on the highest level. That's a guy that I'm obsessed with, right? But also, he was a Houston Astro. I remember where I was when he hit the homer in the 16th and walked it off. I was 7 years old. Like, that was my guy. Now, the other one, and this is – I'm not pandering here. I'm not playing to the audience. The other guy – was the head coach of the Frogs. And I walked up straight to Coach Carlos, and I'm like, hey, Coach, I just wanted to tell you that I had a poster of you on my wall when I was a little kid. And I'm wearing my flip-flops, and I've got my pencil, and he's probably seen me already interview half of his guys. And he's probably curious who the hell let me in the door. And he's like, why? And I was like, you threw a no-hitter for the Astros, and I had all 6 pitchers on the poster in my wall. And he's like, okay, we're landing the plane a little bit. So in honor of that love, I decided to rock a wardrobe change in front of like one of my favorite coaches.
Yeah.
Let's go.
There we go.
Let's go.
Shout out to Coach Carlos.
Right.
It is one of my favorite
Yeah,
stories early on.
For the audio only listeners, Jack just kind of did a dramatic like high school recruit commit and switched his hat to a TCU hat. So we appreciate that.
Is that home field apparel? Jack?
Shout out to Home Field Apparel. If you guys have not gone and shown love, man, y'all's line was crazy sexy. Like y'all's drop was nuts last year.
Yeah, we're fans of Home Field for sure. Hey,
If
real quick,
if they're listening, we'll take any money they want to throw at us.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, let's talk Home Field. Hey,
Use
Jack,
Lupton beers for 15% off.
Hey, Jack, you kind of alluded to the storytelling aspect that you're really into. Can you just give people kind of an overview of what Pencil Talk's all about and kind of your venture there?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's 2 years ago, it was a different answer. A year ago was a different answer. Heck, a month ago was a different answer. It's constantly evolving. The whole premise was when I got done playing college baseball, you're lost. I knew I was done playing. You get a sales job. You're running the 9 to 5. I had never even imagined that broadcasting any sport was a reality. So when I started toying around with doing high school sports in the Charleston area, and then it led to college football and college basketball at the small D1 FCS level, and then obviously you kind of fumble and stumble into your passion, which is college baseball. Pair that with obviously the storytelling aspect. I needed help and I needed to get better. So Pencil Talk was strictly a resume from the start. So it allowed me to be genuine and authentic to who I was. I actually began and started it as an internship when I was in college. The truth of the matter is I'm working for my college at Charleston Southern, and I didn't know I needed one to graduate. So I just buddied up with the SID department. They go, hey, why don't you do like pre and post game write-ups? And I go, well, that's a lot of work. What if I just did interviews? And they're like, okay, that's fine too. And I constantly was forgetting the microphones, but I always had a pencil. That's kind of how it starts. So sheer laziness. But the idea being anybody can tell a story. And for me, putting on a suit and tie and then walking down onto the field at a TCU or even at a college at Charleston or wherever it might be, and being genuine if I were all stuffied up using a microphone. So it was a way for the athlete, by the athlete, to allow these guys to kind of like feel like they're not talking to someone. They didn't have to go all pro on it. They could just kind of lay their hair down a little bit and let it rip. So that's kind of what it's rooted in. It's kind of taken on a little bit of a life of its own, and it's goofy and it's fun, but I've had a blast doing it.
That's
What do you
awesome.
think of all the other Pencil Talk that you see pop up on social media?
Are there others using pencils out there?
Like, I think I've seen Oregon State use a pen.
Okay, so that's actually a funny story. So yeah, they did use a pen this fall. They had no idea who I was, clearly, and nor should they. I'm still far in my infancies in this thing. But I just kind of I think they posted like 3 or 4 interviews in a row, and I just consistently kept pestering them. I was like, boys, Beaver Nation, you're going to get a full-time hater this season if this continues. About 30 minutes later, I get a random phone call, and it's obviously new head coach over at Oregon State. They're doing an awesome job. And he's like, this is great. I had no idea. I was like, should we keep it like an ongoing feud? And they've got, I think, like the toughest RPI schedule in the country, so they do not need me being a jackass all season long in their DMs and mentions. So we bury the hatchet. I'm a big fan of the Beavers this year.
Hey, big 2024. You joined 11.7 late 2023. Can you walk us through your last full season of college baseball with 11.7? Do you have any idea how many games you attended, like as a reporter? Flops on the ground.
The flops on the ground answer is a little bit different than the broadcast answer. I broadcast over 144 events last year, and 58 of them were baseball. Now we're talking D2, we're talking D1, we're talking mid majors, we're talking. I was blessed enough by late April, late May to do a lot of Coastal Carolina, and then that led to NC State and Duke. So it was a heck of a journey getting there. So I think baseball, it was 58 broadcasted. Then Ben Upton and I and his brother Will, we went and did Hoover. So that's another 13 games in Hoover. We did the Sun Belt tournament for a day. That's 4 games. So that's 17. I did it. I did the regionals in North Carolina. That's 6. And then I did super regionals. That's 2 because Florida swept Clemson. And then Omaha, that's 13. Any math guys in our audience? Because I think those are actually all pretty spot on, but I sure as hell can't add them
we're
up
thinking
very
over
well.
1,000 at this point. That's
that's the figure I have as well.
Yeah, we got it. There you go.
Yeah.
It was a lot of baseball.
As a fan of 11.7, I just have to compliment you on your willingness to take on Dimitri. That's always fun for me to hear. Even when he's right and you're wrong, you make him work for it, and I thoroughly enjoy that as a listener. So
he is, man, dude. It was so fun. We finally all got to meet. We went to the ABCA convention, which is like just the college baseball hub up in DC at the turn of the new year. So it was nice to like early on our chemistry and our relationship was like, even though it was like almost felt like catfishing, we were doing it all online. Man, like those guys were just the boys. Like, and it was just as stupid as it sounds, they were just the boys. So it was finally nice to meet each other in person where I was like, it got pretty highly contentious at times. We let it rip, but there was no bad blood. But I appreciate that, JD. I'm going to let him know that you said that. I will never admit to being wrong, even though it happens a lot, including last week in our last pod. But yeah, man, dude, they've been a blast to hang out with.
I think we're we're the opposite of you, where we were fortunate to meet in person the first time, right? Hang out, go to games together, and they were like, hey, let's hang out and like start a podcast, like after multiple years of watching TCU baseball. So a little bit different, but now we get online, we're like, man, I just wish I was in person so I could punch you in the mouth.
Yeah. Right.
I love that. It was cool. I mean, Ben has done such an incredible job creating this truly monster over there. And then Dimitri compliments him so well. So it was when they expanded, they were able to bring me on in kind of a weird, fun way where I was like the crazy interactive guy and wasn't scared to go do it in person. It is a blessing to have them brought me onto this monster that they created. So I'm glad I haven't pissed Dimitri off in some of those arguments too much.
Well, they're already they're already kind of planning your going away, it sounds like, because, they call you the rising star in the industry and everything. And they're like, yeah, we're just going to build guys up and let them go do bigger and better things. Is there anything in the works that you can talk about, like next steps or any additions to your already busy schedule?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I appreciate that. I continue to forget it. I think we're announcing it next week, so I don't know if this is breaking news or not. I said it in the first podcast with 11-7, but doing a deal with D1 Baseball, so I'm going to do a lot of flops on the ground reporting for those guys this year.
Okay.
Again, flops on the ground, kind of create my own role. Obviously, getting to learn from a guy like Kyle Peterson and Kendall Rogers and telling stories in a different light. But the coolest part about it is trying to be the glue in the college baseball space, right? There's not a ton of us, but it's growing rapidly, right? So they're allowing me to continue to do everything I want to do with 11.7. I'll be on every pod. Club Roma, it ain't going nowhere. Those are my favorite Tuesday nights in the world. So it's this really cool bridge of being able to do a little bit of everything. Hopefully, to your point, it allows me to kind of branch out and travel a lot more this spring, have measured and weighed the idea of, how much do I want to broadcast versus how much do I want to be in person and more of the content side. I always hated social media and now I have 2 jobs in it. So found myself in quite the conundrum, but it's allowed me the opportunity to do some pretty sweet stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the, that's the updated news. I don't know if it's breaking or not. So if so, woo! But I'm stoked about it. It's gonna be sick.
You mentioned Club Omaha. Let's stick on that for a second. So legitimately one of the best creations that, for late night game watching experiences. Yeah. Talk to our listeners who have not watched Club Omaha, what that means and why they should chime in.
All right. Well, boys, if we're listening to the little post-game beers, it's very much so on brand. You guys are going to have to come on for some late night TCU action and we'll combine forces because late night Omaha was quite literally conceived out of like just the Manning cast, where you're watching those goons
Yeah.
who are like maybe the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And it's just very laid back. They're bringing on different guests. Obviously, with us streaming, you got to stare at our ugly mugs and not the live stream of the games. But it's right. We see Squeeze play once a year. So for real college baseball lovers, like you see this opportunity of getting to watch all these different games at once. I'm too ADHD to make it happen. So the needle, like I like to call him, Ben Upton, does a great job of us maneuvering in between like big time moments and big time plays. And for hypothetical investors of the sport, we have found that has been a really great market of guys that are just degens running it up, watching a little UC Irvine at 9:00 at night. So yeah, I mean it's pretty sporadic, but what ended up happening was hey, we'd all watch a game together, right, and get to interact and sweat out a Houston baseball versus Sam Houston State.
Yeah.
And then after the game, I would call up a guy like Trey Jones, who played right field for Houston last year, and get Trey on. So it'd be almost like we were getting that exclusive post-game interview in a really, really fun, laid-back post-game beers type setting.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to it. And just to let you know, we're going to borrow a little bit of that concept this year ourselves, but
Good.
You guys handle the national perspective, and we're going to kind of do it for like TCU road games when they're only on, we can only watch them on TV. We're kind of going to do something similar.
Awesome. Well, dude, if you guys ever need someone to come scream at a TV, I'm really good at it.
Oh, well, you led me to my next point. We'll have to have you on.
Yeah, I know y'all probably won't do it opening night, but TCU's on the West Coast for their opening series.
Yeah,
the 8 p.m. Central Time first pitch.
I know.
San Diego.
We were looking at some potential, like the Club Roma stuff, because I was calling so many games, was like kind of exclusively midweeks, which was so drunk because anyone who knows college baseball, midweeks are just out of control. There's a chance I might be getting out to the West Coast for that game, maybe get in person. So we'll see what happens. Still in the works though.
Love it. I don't know if I'm going to take a different direction if that's all right with you boys, but let's talk about the D1 rankings for a second. So we've got the top 25. They were released the last couple weeks. SEC, you've got 6 in the top 10. All right. You've got 9 in the top 25. And then ACC also has 7 in the top 25. Big 12, you've got TCU and Oklahoma State. So, and I've got one of my daughters back here just chiming in.
I was going to say, let's say hi.
Night.
What's going on?
All right. I don't know what's in your hair, but
it's called a heatless curl.
It's called a heatless curl. All right. There we go.
Well, can I get one of those? I'm starting to look like Ronald McDonald over here.
So what
It's
you
not
do
looking good.
So what you do is you wear it overnight and you wake up and your hair's all curled and stuff. I wouldn't know, my hair's all gone. So anyway. Is this going to be another dominant year between kind of the top 2.5 conferences with, maybe the Big 12 making some noise? You've got the SEC with a ton of teams in there. A&M, Tennessee is going to be good again. Like, what's your overall perspective on, college baseball?
I think it's so funny, man. I remember asking Jay Johnson this 2 years ago in Omaha, this idea of it just feels like the game is as good as it's ever been. And then fast forward a year and it's like, oh my God, it's gotten even better. So these kids that would never play college baseball a decade ago are now filtering into the college system. And then Tony Vitello and the likes of the best have talked about this idea of, well, training is better and facilities are better and technology is showing us things about the swing and on the mound that we've never known before. So this athlete is turning into this mega beast right in before our eyes. So to answer your question kind of, I guess, in a long way, I do think the game is at its very best today, and it's only going to keep getting better. With that being said, with the portal so wide open, I completely stand on the fact that you're seeing mid-major programs that are getting that trickle-down effect of the guy that might not be playing or cutting it at that Power 4 school or that big-time SEC, ACC program, and they're ending up at the mid-major program or vice versa in the Big 12, Pac-12, Big 10. It's deeper than ever. With that being said, when you pour gas on the fire at these big-time programs who are just pouring money into their programs and they're seeing the return on their investment, it's not an accident that we've seen teams like Tennessee and LSU and Ole Miss and Mississippi State, four of the teams that are spending most on their operating budget in college baseball, winning the dang thing. But I also think two things can exist at once where there is a lot of parity. Teams are a lot better than usual. So to answer your question, I know that we had 4 ACC and 4 SEC in Omaha last year. I'm asking the committee when they stage it, right? When I get my field of 64 and I get my 16 host sites, if there's a little bit more parity and I can get these SEC and ACC programs away from this cannibalistic style where your Big 12 and your Big 12 and your Pac-12 are almost eating each other alive, where the SEC and ACC are getting to host and then everyone has to come to them. I think we would see a little bit more parity in Omaha this year. So when it comes to the top 25, I've never been really one to like dive into that mess because I think there's probably 3 or 4 coaches in the country that know what they have going into this thing. And then you mix in a couple of injuries and you just have no idea. So top 25, great, whatever. Show me the second week of conference play and I'll tell you I got a better feel on this thing. So I know that's a long way to answer, but I've been getting fired up thinking about it because I really do think this is the year that we get a mid-major in. And I do think that the Pac-12 now turned Big Ten is going to see a team get back in. And I know for a fact the Big 12 will be back because they are a juggernaut in themselves, and I think they're oftentimes slept on too heavily. But, to answer your question, I think we're in a good place for this thing to continue to show a little bit more variety when we get down to the final stretch.
Yeah, what an industry we decided to go into, right? Trying to predict what teenagers are going to do for the next 4 months.
Yeah, ain't no predicting on my end. I'm just going to catch them with the pencil when they walk off the field.
Yeah, so, all right, I have a question for you to bring it back to TCU a little bit. So we covered TCU under a microscope, right? And we have emotional connections to the program. So I'm curious, from your perspective, a guy who covers – the sport from a national perspective and doesn't have direct ties to the program. What is your opinion of TCU as a program, going say like the last 15 years or however long you've been really paying attention to college ball?
Outside of the fact that Sarlos wears flip-flops to drop his daughter off to school,
right? Yeah.
Wait, does he actually?
Shit. Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
Drives a golf cart.
A second.
Dude's from California.
Yeah, does that alter your answer?
Wears flip-flops.
Alter my answer. I already told you he was one of the few guys I was nervous to meet. Now I'm obsessed with him. What? I did do a video. I did a video when I was in Omaha. I don't know, for those who have followed along or just finding my crazy self, and if you haven't turned me off quite yet. I took an RV out to Omaha last year. I lived in that RV for about a month and a half or so, did the Supers whole thing.
Yeah, I remember this.
So the RV was called the Teal Ninja, and it was brown, and we did the Teal Ninja Chronicles. The NCAA actually certified, gave me a plaque and everything. I'm the first ever media credentialed individual to ever pull up in an RV. So they had to create a different place to park for me. So where I was parked, I didn't have any power, thus no running water. So I'd go work out at the gym or and then shower at a Crunch Fitness that was in walking distance of the stadium. Anyways, long story short, one morning I wake up a little bit late before the game and I just take a quick little Dasani shower in the parking lot, just 2 water, Stone Cold Steve Austin style. And I was wearing my TCU hat. And I tagged Coach Charleston and just a Hail Mary. And he responded, was like, thanks for showing the Frogs some love. So if this answers your question, I did not need any convincing. The flip-flops is just the cherry on top. On a real note, though, some people say that in order to be a blue blood, you have to win the dang thing, which I think is fugazi. When you think of North Carolina baseball, don't you think that they're a blue blood? They've never won a national championship.
Right. Arkansas.
Yeah, right. So, probably even better example, right? I just think you guys are, when I think of blue blood and I close my eyes and I see, I just see you guys always there and you're always in the hunt and you're always in the conversation. You recruit at an elite level. Maybe one of my favorite costumes or jerseys, as some people like to say in college baseball. And then when you go into this year, sometimes you just need an ace on the mound, and Benabella is going to be that guy this year. And I've been saying it for a long time. I think he got the best glove at shortstop maybe in the country. Between he and Flores down at Texas, so rangy, such a huge arm. Anthony Silva is nuts. So,
And he's done it on the big stage too. He really flashed in Omaha a couple years ago.
so good. I didn't know about him then. Like, I'm showing up and I'm kind of like raw. Like, at that point, I was only in my Charleston bubble. And then you watch him make that play. I'll never forget where he goes up the middle, dives, turns, throws. And you're like, oh, I watch that on MLB Network every night. Got it. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, he's 18 years old. Oh, got it. Very cool. When I was 18, I was picking boogers and flicking them at my friend in my CSU dugout. This guy's unreal. So, yeah, he's been there. He's done that. I'm all in on the Frogs.
Sweet.
Love it. Ray, what you got,
Hey, y'all, coach me up, though. What have you guys boys I've been hearing about the freshman of the year? I saw that when they announced, but I don't know anything about them.
It's hard to think of another freshman class we've been more excited about.
Yeah.
Really?
Just the recruiting has always been very good, but it seems like this class is kind of a level beyond any other class that we can remember. So we're going to do our previews starting Thursday. We're really excited about it because of all the new guys to talk about. But man, between Sawyer Stronsider, Noah Franco, we could list guys all night. But just in short, these guys are studs, man. They're studs. I can't wait to see them play.
Love that.
Also, Silva, which, we thought if he had a good year, a great year in 2024, he would have been drafted highly, right?
Yep.
And so the fact that he's coming back to play with his brother, he'll be a backup catcher, behind Carson Bowen. That was a surprise for us. We did not expect him to come back. So we've got a good mix of like senior leadership, guys that are going to go to the draft next year, and also some freshmen coming in that are like, they're going to start. They're not going to be pushing for playing time. They're going to start right away. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a real weakness. And now, if you want to say, like, if you look at Arkansas starting pitching, just all-star level group, right? I don't think we have one particular spectacular group, but I don't feel like there's one, like when you talk about bullpen, defense, hitting for power, I think it's all above average at the very least.
Good.
That's my assessment.
I think
doesn't it feel like
go for it.
Doesn't it feel like the Big 12 is like kind of open to go for the taking this year too a little bit? Where in the past, I mean, you guys are obviously, when you look at just even the Vegas betting odds, always odds on favorite. But it feels like this year too, like there are going to be some sleeper teams, but you guys can really kind of plant the flag and go, no, it was our conference. Those other two schools leave. It still is our conference.
So I think what it'll eventually come down, because I think you can almost draw a line in the middle of the conference and say these are the teams that can really compete, and then this other half, they're probably going to struggle. It's going to be that team in the top half. How many games do they drop to those teams in the second half? Like, who's going to be able to focus enough to complete the sweep on Sunday versus just winning 2 out of 3, right? So while TCU, they sweep BYU and Arizona drops one on Sunday, right? That could be the difference between winning the conference and not.
Yeah.
Jacob had a genius idea actually of creating, 2 divisions within the Big 12 of the ones who want to play baseball and the ones who have to play baseball,
Yeah.
And
a promotion relegation system.
But yeah, honestly, it actually made sense because if you get to play just the best teams in your league, right? Yeah. Your RPI is going to go up. It's going to help your overall standing in terms of the final, getting to a regional. And then we're like TCU is literally playing every team in the bottom half of the preseason rankings for the Big 12. So that's good in terms of wins, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be great. You don't have Texas.
Yeah, we want to play Oklahoma State.
Exactly.
We don't want to dodge Oklahoma State. So, and then if you do well in that second division, you get promoted the next year and you get to play all the top dogs.
Yeah. This is stuff he hasn't figured out with the new commissioner.
Guys, are you guys tagging the hell out of the Big 12 in this? Because the Big 12 should be all about this, right? Like if I want to host, if I think the Big 12 is good enough to have 2 to 3 hosts, then this logic makes more than perfect sense, right?
Sure. And I think with all the changes within the conference, it's a perfect time to try something nobody else is doing.
Yeah. I like it. I'm in.
All right, you can help me pitch it.
Yeah, you kind of got to separate yourself. I mean, it kind of feels like the SEC and ACC are kind of leaving everyone behind right now. So, fuck it. Why not?
I like that. It is interesting, right? Because I mean, you're seeing more ACC teams like really like pour into like baseball, whereas like in years past they've been so known as the dominant basketball conference.
Yeah.
I just think people sleep on and I don't know if maybe it is like East Coast bias. I know that I've fallen victim to that just because it's like what's readily available and who's people talking about. But it is funny, like if the national college baseball narrative, whoever the heck that is, starts talking about a certain team, watch them start to get a ton of love. Like it's so easily like representative in all the 7 polls or whatever the heck, like how many ever we count. But just watch, like TCU comes out with a big time showing, then everyone will be on the TCU bandwagon, then they're all in. And I'm kind of all in on your thought process there. I think you got something.
I'll send you some literature after the pod, and you can review it in more detail before you totally endorse it.
I'll sign it. That's the beauty of signing with a pencil. If I don't like it later, I can just erase it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talking about ACC, what the heck's in the water in the Carolinas? There's so much damn good baseball just in South Carolina and North Carolina. And it's not even, the big P4 schools either. It's Coastal Carolina. It's Mercer. It's Campbell. Roll humps.
Oh, now you got me fired up. I just think it's like a way of life. My family my cousin grew up playing Texas baseball. So like that's a different beast in its own. But it's just a part of like that's what you do on the weekends. Like you go to the church of baseball on Sunday morning, you're playing consolation 5th place games because there's nowhere else in the country you'd rather be. So I don't know. When you look at the triangle specifically, right? Like between Duke, North Carolina, and NC State right now. Last year we were in a conversation where all 3 can't host, right? Because Duke was right there in the conversation to host. And then just, again, cannibalistic, they eat each other out. So it's like, I don't really know where you go from there. But between those 3, Wake, the mid-majors between UNCW, Elon, obviously the College Charleston, Coastal Carolina, Clemson, Clemson's going to be great this year. South Carolina, college baseball blue blood. I don't know what
Southern.
the answer is. Go damn Bucks. Thank you for saying that. Some people say D1.5. I say no, sir.
All right. Do you guys have any other questions? Because I have one thing we can end on.
Yeah, I think before you end on this question, you traveled a lot last season, Jack. Is there a particular stadium or like fan base that you dream about, that you like wake up and you're like, man, I love those guys?
Yes. Definitely. It's funny when I really first started this thing, I played at Charleston Southern and I finished at George Mason. So George Mason, we go play Wake Forest in the regional 2 years ago. So that was like the first time I ever went and did Pencil Talk, like actually like got credentialed, did the whole thing. Wake Forest, #1 team in the country. And I was like, this is so cool. And like the couch went from like 200 season tickets to like 2,000. So I'm very grateful for them because their fan base ate up all the interactions I was getting. And then I went to Omaha and they played LSU. And you're like, these people are actually nuts. Like they're actually senile. And I'm in love with them, like actually in love with them. And when they won that national championship, not to say that I would have quit and hung it up, but I don't think that Pencil Talk would have had the legs, or I wouldn't have had the proof of concept to go, hey, I think this is going to work. But LSU baseball fans were so rabid about what was happening that some idiot with a pencil is interviewing Cade Beloso, the Creole Bambino, and they're like, this is the greatest thing ever. When in reality, it was only like 2 weeks into me doing it. It was probably terrible. So I'm very grateful for them. Tennessee baseball fans, I'm naming just national champions, but like it is their fans are nuts.
Yeah, you have to be nice to Tennessee fans.
They're so good to me. Like, and this was cool too. When you think about what happened last year, right? I do the LSU. I'm like, oh, I think there's some meat on the bone here. There was one coach in that press room that didn't look at me like I was nuts right away, and it was Tony Vitello. And he came off the stage. I asked him a question right after they got bounced, and there's so much energy and emotion and passion and showboating and bat flipping, and your team took a lot of criticism for that. where do you think your team sits as a cog in the wheel of the current state of college baseball in this landscape? And he was very taken aback. He was very emotional. He was very appreciative. And he invited me down to Knoxville that following fall. And I'm like, he ain't ever going to call. Like, it's nice of him. But I mean, that's cool, though. And then he invited me down. We did the stadium tour, and we did the whole thing. So I rode that whole season out with him as a friend, right? Like, not a team that hasn't ever won a national championship before ever. And as a friend of a lot of guys that stuck their neck out for me early on. So I've gotten to know a lot of their fans too, just because it became pretty personal. So I am very appreciative of them.
Tony Vitello's a good TCU man.
He is a good TCU man. He's the most GQ man in baseball. Unless Kirk Sarlo is wearing flip-flops. Then new answer.
Jacob, take
All
us
right.
home.
Yeah, so actually I lied. I have two things.
Hit me.
One real quick question. Has Jack DeLongchamps ever had a long drink?
Oh, no, but I need to.
We got to get you hooked up, man. Like, if you ever come visit TCU, we'll get you free long drink. But in the meantime, go to your specs and pick some up.
Okay, I will. How about this? I'm gonna have him stocked, stored, and ready to rumble.
Okay.
And the first time that you guys run your Club Omaha on a road game, you call me. I'll come in. I'll shotgun one and then enjoy one with the boys, and we'll be good. Fair?
We will join you in that if you don't mind. That sounds awesome. All right. Last thing before we let you go, I want to play a game called Does Jack Know Jack? All right. Okay. I have your baseball reference page pulled up, so I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Okay. All right. Can I ask you a question before we start?
Sure.
All right. So I get trolled hard earlier. How did you find this baseball reference?
Oh, dude, it's a simple Google search. There's not very many Jack DeLongchamps out there, so I didn't really have to weed through a lot. Like, it kind of pops up right away.
There's no DeLongchamps from like 1930.
No.
Dude, shocked. I didn't know that. I was like, yo, guys, I'm a wildly below average college baseball player. Like, I'm a glue guy to its core.
Find out.
But this story, I didn't know that I had a baseball reference. There's a Coastal Carolina story, guy that gets kicked out of minor league baseball. I don't know if you guys remember seeing this. I don't want to pull it back up because I got dragged on Twitter. Like, I'm talking 2 million views, and the ratio was not in my favor. I got guys ripping me to shreds on my take. I get this one kid, and I think he's a kid because the tweet went viral as hell. I think it did 6,000 or 7,000 retweets, bunch of likes. And the guy goes, "This guy doesn't know ball. Look at his baseball reference," and he pulls it up. And I'm not even kidding. As you can tell, I don't take myself very seriously. We're going to dive for these numbers, and I don't know them very well. And I didn't click on the link when the kid posted it because I did not want to relive that trauma. I'm telling you right now, I was ecstatic to know that I had one. I was like, guys, did I arrive? I think I kind of made it. I think I'm kind of a big deal that I have a baseball reference.
All right. Well, I want to preface
coaches and say, "I've got a baseball reference. Here's the reference."
And that's a good preface to this, because if any of our listeners may think that we're ribbing you here, just understand none of us have a baseball reference page. Okay, so let's preface this with that.
There's no ribbing here. This is just the honest to God truth.
Okay, so let's start with let's start with an easy one. How many stolen bases did you have? And we're not counting summer ball. We're going to exclude summer ball.
All right. God, they've got summer ball in there?
Yeah, Lake Norman, baby.
Oh, my God. That's some rented short. How many stolen bases I have? Over 2.5, 3?
That 2.5's a good over-under. Let's say that.
Under.
You had
2?
You had 2. You had 2 stolen bases.
Oh! Do you want to hear the worst part? This is the honest God, the worst part. I was a 6'7" runner. 6'7", 60. I can boogie.
Yeah, well,
but here's the problem with stealing bases. Can't steal first. Couldn't get on them.
you were 50% successful. So you stole 2 bases and you were caught stealing twice. So 50%. That's pretty good.
Oops,
all right. What was your batting average?
I do know the answer to this one. Only because maybe I'm wrong. when I started my podcast, when I started Pencil Talk, a good buddy of mine from Charleston Southern and I started it together. He was a really good player that had a rough couple last years. I think he was hitting 228 and I was hitting 231.
I have you down for 221.
Oh, even better. 221.
231 is fine. It's fine.
Okay, so
Don't give me the 10 extra points. I don't want them.
Well, okay, so batting
Above
average,
the Mendoza line.
Yeah, but batting
There are a
average
couple-
is just one stat, right? What's more important stat to us when we analyze players is ops. So what was your ops? Do you have any idea what your ops was?
Well, I'm assuming you're going to get to the home run category here soon, so I don't want to ruin.
We'll get there.
trivia
We'll get
question.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
We'll
with
get
that category in mind, I'm going to say it's not high. I'm going to say it's in the 300s, 400s.
Oh, come on. Give a better guess than that. You're being way too humble.
Is it?
Are you talking about ops or just slugging?
All of the above. I don't.
Okay.
Well, so let's go. Ops 510. I slugged probably 300.
Okay. Ops 576, a slug of 286.
Let's
I'm
go.
a beast, dude. I'm a
Yeah,
beast.
yeah,
Hey, shoot for the moon. You miss
You
land on the
beat your own
stars.
expectations.
Any eligibility left for the Frogs? Let's go.
I played 6 years of college baseball. I got every ounce imaginable.
All right.
I think you should
have
compare
two-
these numbers to Ben Upton's.
Yeah, that's a
Bennett
good idea.
juice.
Yeah, tail of the
Bennett
tape.
juice.
All right. So
keep going.
I assume you know the answer to this one, but I want you to tell the story behind it. How many home runs did you have?
Okay. Do you want to tell it, or should I? I have much more fun self-deprecating.
Does Jack know Jack? Do you know how many home runs you hit?
I hit a home run in my last collegiate at bat. It was
Did
pretty
you
sweet
really?
on
I didn't know
senior
that.
day. Yeah, I'll go pull it. It was on. Well, I guess that's not fair. So I'm graduated. I'm done at Charleston Southern. I had no plans of playing college baseball. I redshirted my freshman year. I was done. I got my 4. I was out. So my last at bat on senior day at Charleston Southern, I hit a home run. It was pretty cool. Made top 10 place. No big deal.
All right. Well, that is a good story.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's
It's pretty cool.
the video, right?
Yeah, Scott. Yeah. So then,
Dude,
so
we didn't even touch on
Charleston
that.
Southern ends a little weird. I get a little fire in my belly. George Mason actually calls me. That's a heck of a story too. I'm working on a jet ski one day, and I get a call from the George Mason coach 2 weeks after season started. After I got cut from CSU, and the numbers tell you why I was cut. And I didn't even really want to play, but the fact that I was cut, I was like, well, now I got to play one more. So I ended up going to George Mason. COVID ends the 5th year, so I go back for a 6th. So that's when SVP was Scott Van Pelt, who's like he's like my idol. He was doing like these really cool senior salutes during COVID, where it's like, hey, you didn't get the chance to play your last game. It was really cool. So I
remember that.
My coach submitted me because I was a glue guy. We weren't there to, we were glue guys. So he submitted his glue guy, not some of his better players, far better players. So, yeah.
Any more, Jacob?
All right. Yeah, I do have one more. And I
going.
lied. We have to go to summer ball for this one. But you have a pitching stat line. Do you know your pitching stat line from Lake Norman summer ball?
I got to tell you, I do feel like a big deal that Baseball Reference has this. No, I do not. But I'll tell you it wasn't good. It's not. It got to be close to infinity, right?
Well, okay, hold on. No, you did complete an inning. You allowed no hits.
How many did I hit?
Let's see. I didn't. Hold on. Okay, you didn't hit any. But you walked 6 guys and allowed 3 runs. So,
Okay. 6 is a lot. I got to be honest with you. I think the statistician messed up. So that story's good. So I'm at Lake Norman. It's a rain game. I was talking about how easy pitching was because I threw pretty hard. And I got on the mound and I just started darting people. Dude, I mean, I got to be honest with you. The 6 walks is generous. I think I hit 4 or 5 of them. I think, and then it became like a total mental block because I did get the yips my freshman year. because I threw hard. I had no idea where it was going. So
Dude, you got out of the inning though.
I think they were scared. I think guys in the box were scared to get hit, so they were just like, "I do not want to get hit here."
I will swing versus getting hit.
Guys, I threw that inning. I woke up the next morning. I rolled over in bed, and I woke up. My arm hurt so bad, and I was like out for like a whole week and a half. It was terrible.
Did you not run your foul poles after the game? Keep your
Of
legs
course
fresh?
not. I had a couple long drinks. What's the name of this damn pod? What are you talking about? It's summer baseball.
All right, I'm going to conclude Jack knows Jack.
Yeah, Jack.
So you win.
Is there not any more fun ones?
Hey,
well, let's see.
You come on again later in the season, and we'll come up with some more. How about that?
Okay.
We can,
all right. Master
talk about your
ceremonies.
strikeout to walk ratio if you wanted. But
Yeah.
Dude,
Jack,
1 year is not good.
Grateful for your time tonight. This is your busy season. I know you're on podcasts every night talking about baseball. Find this guy on 11.7, a D1 later in the season. We're excited about that. Pencil Talk Pod. You get a lot of stuff going on. So really appreciate your time tonight. Just talking about college baseball, talking about the Frogs, talking about Jack on Jack. But thanks again, man.
Yeah, you're going to have to give Kendall a hard time. Kendall hates the Frogs.
No. Well, that's become a good bit. That's become a good bit.
Exactly. Dude, hey, Jack, you are talking to the guy who started that on Twitter, by the way.
We literally started that where,
No, not we, MK.
No,
you started that.
So am I on this pod? Am I in trouble with my future employer now? Is this how this is going to go down?
This was probably back in 2017, but Kendall quote tweeted MK when MK was joking about him hating the Frogs, and that's how it all kicked off.
Yeah,
that's a true story.
And we've met Kendall in person multiple times, so he's a good friend. But yeah,
yes to the pod. Yeah. But
dude,
that's the true story behind it.
How about that? I told you guys. I'm not even gonna lie. As you can tell, when I was playing college baseball, I played 6 years of college baseball. I never knew what was going on outside of my bubble. I grew up such a massive college baseball fan. Played college baseball. Was so not in love with college baseball. Now outside of it, it's like kind of re-immersing myself where like guys like yourself who are absolutely crushing the game, doing the game such an awesome justice. Like didn't exist like when I was growing up watching Jackie Bradley Jr. and Whit Merrifield go back to back for the Gamecocks when I fell in love with the sport. So it's been really cool to watch you guys crush. I wasn't kidding. Ben told me to listen to you guys last year, and I became a huge fan. And I appreciate y'all having me on, boys. I didn't know I was in the grace of legends though with the bit of Kendall Rogers. That's big time.
I appreciate it.
Well, dude, we really appreciate you coming on, man. The pleasure was all ours. So we'll talk to you down the road. We'll do some. We don't have a name for our watch along yet, but when we figure it out, you'll be the first to know.
Hey, if we make it to the big dance in June, Jello shots on us. How about that?
Oh, now you got me free. Oh, now I'm feeling frisky. Say less. I'm all in.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jack.
Take
Appreciate
care.
you guys.